Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Rendezvous with Anzar Saqib on CxO Global Forum. TV's CxO Global Forum is a knowledge sharing platform for all C levels across Pakistan and the globe. We take massive pride in contributing to the knowledge economy. Each time we interview some very special guest members, and these are people who have essentially had a considerable amount of influence in the industry that they're working in. And they're also thought leaders and have made their own contributions. And we have conversations with them to find out about their journey and learn from them. Today, as well, we've got, surprisingly, a very inspiring young lady. Her name's Fatima Mazhar. Uh, she will tell you more about herself, but let me just introduce her by her current designation. She's the COO and co-founder for Dukan.pk. A very exciting project, and we're very excited to have her here. Thank you, Fatima, for joining us. Hope you're doing well.
I am. I look a little funny today, but excuse my appearance.
Yeah,
Other than that,
that's all
I'm
right.
very excited to be there.
So, Fatima, a lot of people, they'd be very curious to know about how your journey has been, because what I know of you so far is that you've had your set of education, you play polo, there's a lot that you do, but where did you go to school, where did you grow up, how did you end up becoming this COO and co-founder of Dukan.pk? So where did it all begin?
I wish I could say that even one part of my life was planned. Nothing has been planned. I've just gone with the flow and just taken like chances and risks and kind of just taken where my heart takes me. I've actually, for my whole career, followed my heart, my gut, and listened to what it says. And that's where I am. As far as schooling goes, I was at Beacon House for most of the time that I was in Pakistan. I went to NUST for a bit, NUST Business School, and then I transferred to the US. I went to like a small school that many people don't know about. It's called Washington College. And as I finished my bachelor's, my dad said, might as well get a master's because you're going to get married. So, abhi kar lo, baad mein shayad mauka na mile. Poor him. He's still waiting for the day that I get married. I got a master's, and then I kind of realized I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I applied for everything. But since I was in O levels, I was interning. So I'd interned at a bank, I'd interned at the Pakistan Embassy in DC, I'd interned at a think tank. I'd done so many internships by then that I kind of knew what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. So after I graduated, I decided that I wanted to make money. So I looked for an investment banking job, and my first ever job was an investment banking job in Dubai at a company that was a boutique bank. So it wasn't a big name. I've never worked for a big name company. So I worked there, and then the financial crisis happened, and I went back to zero. So I went from being like this analyst who's making shitloads of money. Sorry, excuse my French. Lots of money, to becoming a person that was surviving on 1/10 of what I was making as an intern again, because all financial institutions were going down, and I was an analyst, a good one, but at a relatively unknown bank. So I ended up going to work with somebody that I'd interned with who just started a startup. And back in 2010, 11, startups weren't the boom. But I joined him.
Sure.
And he told me that you're made for operations. Your brain is very good on operations. You can pick up processes. Finance is not your thing. And I was like, I ain't doing operations. I am going to do finance. Long story short, that was the first startup I went with. I went with a couple more that failed. I've had my set of failures in terms of I've worked for companies that didn't work out, startups that had to be shut down, and then ended up at Careem. When I went to Careem, I was in my late 20s, and they had only a position for a call center agent for me. So they had a position in the call center, and they said, look, we like you. We don't have a position. We don't have money to pay you right now. But if you work with us, you'll go a long way. And Mudassar and Magnus, two of the best people I've ever worked with, they came across as very genuine and very authentic. So I believed them, and that started my journey in startup, in tech, operations, and I think kind of jumpstart my career in my late 20s, early 30s. Um, and that was it. I spent 4.5 years with Kareem. And then I was a little burnt out. So I told Mudassir, I think it's time to move on. He said, don't move on, take a sabbatical. I took a sabbatical for a year, went to MIT to pursue my lifelong dream of getting an
Oh,
MBA
wow.
from MIT. And
Wow.
so
Brilliant.
while I was at MIT, while I was at MIT, Uber acquired Kareem, and I decided that, you know, I've worked with people, I've worked for culture, I worked for the environment that I work in, and that didn't sit right with me. So I moved on. I found a role at Keep Trucking. I had wanted to come back to Pakistan since I launched Kareem in Pakistan because I found out that the talent here is really good. Life here is amazing. There are some challenges, but they're everywhere. Anyway, so I worked at Keep Trucking for a while and then decided I was working for a US based company that was benefiting the US economy, not really Pakistan economy, unless you counted the fact that we were supporting 1,200 people, 1,300 people. And then decided I wanted to do something on my own. And somebody introduced me to Monis. And I think Monis and I talked for 12 minutes the first day we talked. And I knew that this is the
Yeah.
person that I want to work with. And that's how I ended up at Dukan. Seems very simple, huh?
Yeah, it's been a very inspiring journey, but I had to pick out a couple of things from there, and one, nothing goes as planned. Two, it's very
Yeah.
important to sort of have that agile philosophy that, okay, so if things aren't working out, it's all right to switch. And then the third thing that I think really resonated with me was the fact that you took your time to do things that you were passionate about. So when you realized that, okay, so you weren't really making a contribution to Pakistan and the economy, you decided to make the switch. And I heard you and Mona speak the other day about Dukan. It's a very interesting concept, and one that's going to change a lot of lives. And would you like to tell all the audience that's listening what exactly Dukan.pk is? What makes it different? How did you identify a niche in the market?
I lost you for a bit. You'd have to repeat the
Okay, so
question.
yeah,
Sorry.
basically, how did you conceptualize Dukan.pk? Where did the idea come from? And what was the gap that you identified in the market? And how is it essentially going to solve uh, problems for a lot of people?
Look, so the idea came to Mona's first, obviously. I came in a bit later. I'm not going to take credit for somebody else's idea, but essentially, because of Corona, everything was kind of shut down. All these people were having problems selling. And so he just wanted to give people a chance to be able to sell and be able to compete because the big names were able to get online and set up this stuff, but the small sellers were really, really struggling. But that's where it first came from. On the other hand, I love shopping online. If I can avoid going even get groceries, I wouldn't go. Like I would love to get everything online. So I
Yeah.
noticed that a lot of small businesses went online, but the experience was really bad. Like they didn't even have a website. So if you wanted to buy something, you had to take screenshots on Instagram and send it to the message and say, "Oh, I want this one and this one." So um,
Absolutely.
I realized that if there was a place where people could actually not have to worry about this and they could have everything given to them, then they can focus on the real thing, which is how do we become creative and get the product ready, and everything else is available for us. So I think
Mm.
I got really excited when I heard, and I wanted to put in my own angle. And also, I've always been the kind of person that wants to impact lives. And I got to do that at Kareem with, that's what we did day in, day out. And I focused on the driver's side. So if you know a captain side, if you talk to anyone at Kareem, they'll tell you that I was the biggest advocate of the captains because that's what mattered to me. When you go to Keep Trucking, it was all about, our driver safety and the compliance. And now this is actually me being able to help women because a lot of the micro businesses that we've seen, a lot of the people that are coming to us are women. These are people that have not maintained they've not had their financial independence. So the fact that they don't even know what to do with the money. So we've kind of put in a ledger in our app where they can actually track how much money is going in, how much money is coming out, if they're making a profit or not. And it's so simple that even a young person can do it. So I think Pakistan is one
Mm-hmm.
country where we have so many people and such talent. All we want to do is give them a platform where they don't have to worry about like payment integrations, delivery integrations, and all of that. Let this be our hassle, and you go sell. The moment micro businesses come in, SMEs come in, our economy is going to get better. We're not going to have to go outside to get a lot of these things. So I just feel like we're
Absolutely.
going to be impacting a lot of lives again. And I also think that there's a lot of like inflation's huge. Pakistan's not a cheap place to live in by any means. So I think
Absolutely.
anyone having two income,
Mhm.
anyone having like a second income on the side is going to be helpful. Um, you froze. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah.
everyone can hear me.
No, no, no. I can. We can hear you. We can hear you just fine. We can
Okay,
hear you just fine,
awesome.
Fatma.
And
Keep
I
going.
think the last thing is we put so much I think we put so much pressure on men in Pakistan to always be providing for families and always be the breadwinner. I think my dream is that Dukan becomes that place where women are financially independent and helping their partners, husbands, brothers, fathers, with some supplementary income. And that can happen if we give them a platform where they can actually, sell without having to kind of spend millions of dollars on, not dollars, but millions of rupees on ad spend and stuff. So that's the dream. We're a long way from there. We've just started out. We're just building out a team. But inshallah, I'm very hopeful.
I'm very proud of you and Monas for what you are planning to do here, and it's something that's very very important just for the nation because a lot of these women they're not aware of concepts like financial inclusion or empowerment, and they've been working for quite some time, and just to bring them into that net of providing income, that in itself is admirable. However, I think that one question that I raised the other day as well, how is Dukan going to assist other freelancers? So I understand where you're talking about, including women who are like, for example, making handicrafts in, let's say, a remote village in Gilgit. But what about that boy who sells pieces of art in Lahore, or that girl who's baking brownies at home, or who's how does it work for them? How are essentially people? There's so many creative
Look,
arts. Like I know so many. Yeah, I know so many graphic designers that have been doing work on Fiverr and Upwork and everything. So does it make life simple for them?
so that's the dream. Again, that's one of my pet projects with Dukan. Something that I'm really excited about is to um, give them a platform. So while right now we are only putting out websites for each person, for freelancers, what we plan to do is maybe have something called like as an example, have graphicdesigners.dukan.pk. So anyone that's looking for graphic designers comes to that one platform, and every graphic designer that is interested has put up their work, has their own website, has a link, and that's something we're gonna spearhead very very soon. We're in the stage of doing QA on our product, making sure that it's okay. And then we're going to go big, but you don't want to go big without having your product sorted out. It's there, but we've got some really good customers that are giving us feedback. But yes, I've been to a couple of CxO forums where freelancers have asked this question. And so I feel like women and freelancers and anyone that is a marginalized industry and having a tough time, we will try to do whatever we can for them. I don't even have a problem doing like maybe like focus groups with them to see what would
Yeah,
help them and then make this happen. This
sure.
is a platform that is there so that people can actually grow their business, and whatever it takes, we are going to try and help them do.
Right, absolutely. Fatma, speaking of growing business and providing the right kind of environment, The Prime Minister, he recently announced the Special Technology Zones Authority with Amir Hashmi as the chairperson. Um, your very candid opinion, what do you think? Is this actually going to create that kind of conducive environment for small businesses or newer businesses in the tech sector uh, to set up in Pakistan?
That's a really difficult question to answer simply because I haven't been in Pakistan long. Second, I've not seen politicians deliver on their promises. Now, if this does come true, it would be remarkable. I think this is like a really great idea. I think it's worked really well in Dubai. Dubai has these
Yeah.
different zones and it works out really well. My problem is, I think we say that we're going to do a lot of things. Um, Politicians don't always follow through. If this does happen, I don't think it's going to happen in the near term. I think this kind of takes some kind of time and thinking and the execution. Maybe like 5 years from now, it'll be great. I think we're going in the right direction, and I think there's a lot of other initiatives that we've been taking that are going in the right direction. I just hope that the prime minister actually gets it done instead of just using it as a ploy to, say he's doing something. I don't know. I hope I don't get shocked by saying this.
Of course not. So, Fatma, since you have worked with startups in particular, you've seen the culture and you've seen sort of the evolution of some startups in Pakistan. Kareem being one of the most disruptive ones. Keep Trucking. These are all disruptive ideas. Um, I meet a lot of young people because we do industry academia linkages, and all of them um, feel that they have a disruptive idea, but they don't know. I mean, the one common complaint is that we don't know how to raise the funds for it. Do you have any advice for younger startups or people who are just emerging and they feel like they have a disruptive idea? What would be your piece of advice to them? How are they supposed to raise the capital?
So I think if they'd asked me this question 2 to 3 years ago, I'd be concerned. But now money is coming in Pakistan, and we do have all these incubation centers that are doing an amazing job. I think NIC is one of my favorite ones. NIC Islamabad is amazing. So I would recommend them to join like an incubation center or like one of these places where they can actually get solid advice. I'd recommend them to reach out to people that have raised funds. I personally haven't yet raised. So this will be my first experience where I'll go in and do it. I think it's a very difficult task. I think what people need to do is whenever I've looked at pitches, whenever I've looked at ideas, I think everyone can have a great idea. It's how you sell the idea. And I think it's a difficult thing to say and people understand it. But if you're not passionate, if you're presenting to me and you're not passionate about your idea, no matter how good an idea it is, I will not give you a dime. So my advice is when you have an idea and you're excited about it, show that excitement. It will get people motivated. That's number one. And the number two thing about raising funds from hearing from other people is people look at the idea, they look at your passion, and then they look at the team that you build. So always have a solid team, because if you don't have a team that, even if you're young, you should have some sort of like relevance and a team. The management team is important. That's what
The
people invest
management
in.
team.
Investment in the management team. So bring out a strong management team, and you should be able to raise it. And every other day, I'm hearing a lot of Pakistani companies get funding, so it shouldn't be hard.
I understand. I understand, and there's another thing that I'd heard when I was visiting the valley, and people said, there's everyone has brilliant ideas, almost everyone that we come across. However, it's how you execute those ideas that also or what your plan for execution is. And one of the things, key factors in that, is something you rightly pointed out, the team. That's important. So a lot of times people don't realize the value of a team. Fatima, what have you had any failures in life, and especially in your corporate journey, and what have they taught you?
So I've had many. I mean, we could do a separate interview on how many failures I've had. And when I talk about failures, I talk about how I failed myself as an individual, how I failed myself by maybe either sticking in a job too long that I didn't belong in, or not asking for more when I should have. But here's what I've learned from my failures. If
Mm-hmm.
I were to live again, I would want those failures to come again, because if I'd not had those failures, I wouldn't be sitting here. Every time I was knocked down, I got up, and I got up harder and stronger than before. And I understand that people might say, okay, this is very generic. But I will tell you that I left a great job to join a startup without doing any research. The startup failed. And, I was jobless for a couple of months, 6 months. Uh,
Oh,
and it's,
wow. Unbelievable.
it's
I wouldn't have believed that. And yeah.
yeah. So, like, if you
So
talk to my
it happens
parents,
to the best of
till
us.
I was,
Essentially, it happens to the best of us.
yes, I have been fired once in my life. And that's because I was
Wow.
super emotional and I did not understand that a job means that you have to respect certain boundaries and you can't do everything. And this is why I like startups. So I was in a corporate job where I took a decision and I ran with it. The decision was successful. The outcome was successful. But I was aware they did not have the authority to make that decision. Um, for the longest time, I was like, but I got what I. So I realized that there are certain stages in life where you have to go through a certain pattern to get to where you are. Yes, startups are not hierarchical, startups are not there, but there are certain things, and you can't just make rash decisions. I've also been very emotional. One of the key things I want to tell people, one of the biggest mistakes I always made was I thought um, people at work could be a family. It's a cool cliche, but you know what? When it's you and the other person and it's your job and their job on the line, nobody's going to be your family. So colleagues are colleagues, friends are outside, and you can have an argument with somebody at work, but that's a colleague arguing. It has nothing to do with each other's personal life. So I think
Yes,
as a woman,
absolutely.
I've had to struggle with hard. I have till date never asked for a raise or a promotion, and that's something I encourage
Oh,
women
wow.
to do from day one. If somebody tells me,
Yeah.
this is what we're going to pay, I don't negotiate, except for once. Once in my life, I negotiated. This was in my 30s. So I think there's a lot of mistakes that I've made, but now I realize that anytime I'm interviewing a girl and I tell her this is what you're going to be paid and she does not negotiate, I give her a lecture on the spot, because I think that's how I can give back. And I say, why didn't you negotiate? Um, but I think there's a lot of things, and I think failure. We should really find a new word for failure. We should either call it like life lessons. We should either call it like, challenges I've
Experience
faced,
and learning.
because yes, experience and learning, anything.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, yeah, failure has a negative connotation. Although, like, I think I've learned a lot from them. And I've made so many mistakes in choosing which place to go to. You hear a very concrete part of my story, otherwise, it's a lot longer. Even though I was told
We're
not to
going to do
pursue
another
finance by
session, I
somebody
think.
who had
Yeah. Sorry, I think we're going to do a
what?
separate session, the failures of Fatma Mazhar and what and the learning outcomes. I think we should do a
Excellent.
separate
That's going to be
session
very
on that.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Fatma, thank you so much for your time. Didn't really keep track of time, and unfortunately, we have to wrap up here. But towards the end, I'm going to ask you
Yeah.
one question in particular. And how has being a part of CXO Global Forum impacted your personal and professional life?
I think it has been amazing. The events that are hosted are great. I really like the stories that I hear about people, because you just see all these big people. I think the best part is all the like, you hear about everyone's story. You think everyone's got it all, and then you hear a story and you see where they've come from. So that's great. And I also think I love the WhatsApp group, because there's so much knowledge being shared
Yeah,
that I
me
don't
too.
contribute, but I'm always sharing it. So it's really brought me close to people that are in, a power position of power. And I know now that I can network and use, not really use, but I know that if I reach out to somebody and if I need something, that's going to be available. So it's like a support system outside a support system outside a support system. So
Absolutely.
I'm grateful to the CxO. Yes.
Right. So that's been our aim with CXO Global Forum, to contribute to the knowledge economy and learn from each other. So thank you so much, Fatima, for your
Yes.
time. We're going to do another session with you very soon. And it's been wonderful. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. We're going to join you next time with another very interesting guest. Take care. And for those
Thank
of you who
you.
want to learn those of you who want to learn more about Fatma's journey, you can follow her on LinkedIn, or about us, you can go to our website, cxoforum.global. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.